Hey, this is Armadillo, and I'm going to offer a short review of my new PK380. This is a Walther pistol, and I haven't seen very much information on it, or certainly not adequate information in the different places you might look for it online, whether you're deciding whether to buy the pistol or some other things like disassembly and so on and so forth. So I'm going to at least give you my take on disassembly and assembly and how the pistol performs and some of the features of the pistol, and hopefully it might help you make a decision as to whether this is the right kind of gun for you. So without further ado, let's get started. So here's the PK380, and as you can see, this is a compact pistol, but it's not anything like what you would call the really small size 380s that you commonly see. Just to show you what size it is, this is a Firestorm, and the Firestorm is a PPK copy pretty much, and I think you can pretty well see here that the PPK is, or that the 380 is about the same size. They have about the same total length. Maybe the PK380 is a little bit longer. You can look up the specs yourself. In terms of carry, I think you can see the width. The PK380 is definitely fatter. It's sort of got that Glock style chunky look there. This is pretty much an ambidextrous gun. You have your safety up here, and the safety isn't a decocker, by the way. If your gun is cocked, and this gun, by the way, is completely empty. Let's verify that. There we go. Nothing up my sleeve, nothing in the gun, and actually no magazine in it right now. If the gun is set on safety, safety is down there, it doesn't decock the trigger at all, but you can safely lower the trigger with the safety on, and it's not a problem even if you are carrying around in a chamber. And that safety also exists on this side as well. So that's a very nice feature. The magazine release is a little different than what you normally see. There's no push button there, and you know, I was kind of upset about that initially, but then you know, that's the push button sometimes is easy to hit, and if you drop the magazine from the handle there, then a lot of guns won't go off if the magazine is out. So even if you have a round you can fire, you're in bad trouble if your magazine drops or gets a little out of position. But the magazine drop here is on the handle, and again, it's ambidextrous. You can push it down with your thumb here, or if you're a left-hander, you can push it down with your thumb here. So this is not a gun where if you're left-handed you're going to have to worry about being left out in the cold, so to speak, because of some particular feature that was only right-handed. And I've seen a fair amount of misinformation about the breakdown on this gun, and it's not difficult at all. They do supply a tool for that, and let's zoom in a little bit closer so you can see what I'm talking about. There is a tool, as you can see. It's got a little rounded part there, and that part's going to go in right into this hole. Let's see if we can get a really good close-up of that hole. And it's got a metal bar set vertically, or set horizontally, and you're going to be turning it actually vertical and almost diagonally. You're going to be going over 90 degrees, about 130 degrees, 120 degrees with this, and you're going to be using this tool to do it. Now, if you lose this tool, it's no big tragedy, because you can take a pair of tweezers and shape them properly, and you can actually go in and do that in a pinch. But it's nice, don't throw this tool away. If you get a PK380, you're going to need it, okay? So here's the breakdown procedure after, of course, a safety check and you remove the magazine. First of all, to make sure your hammer is down. So if it were cocked, then I would make sure that I do a hammer release there. And then I'm going to take my tool. I'm going to slip it into the hole, and it only goes in one way. It doesn't go in sideways. It only goes in one way. So the tool is now all around that bar, and now I'm going to turn it counterclockwise. There's my 90 degrees, and then it flips up to about 120 degrees. But you'll feel it click in. There's no big secret about it, no mysticism about it. The next thing is to take these serrations here, that's the takedown, and push them down, and they push right down. You might find they're a little stiff when you first get your gun, but they loosen right up. You may have to work them a little bit, but they loosen right up. And then, just like magic, you can pull the gun. You can pull the slide right off the gun, and then of course that reveals the interior. Now, I've seen some people talk about how difficult the spring is once you remove it, because once you pull this out, then there's quite a bit of spring here, and it can be challenging to get the spring back into the position so that that you can actually set it into its place, click it into its place. And I'm going to show you what I think is an easy and pretty fail-safe way to do that, and I'm going to do it for you 3 times, and that's coming up next. Well, the first thing I'm going to do here is remove the spring so you can see what kind of terrible snake we're going to have to deal with. And when we replace it, we're going to have to fit it right back in there after the barrel's inserted, and in that little bitty indentation there. And you'll hear it click in when you've done it right. But the question is how do we get this spring back on there so we can get it back assembled into the indentation? And that perplexed me for a while, and obviously some other folks that have talked about assembly and they've had trouble with it. But I'm going to show you how I do it, and I think it's really easy. First, I'm going to pop my barrel right back in there so it's laying in place and ready to receive it. Now I've got my spring there sitting with the follower sitting right on the very edge of my kitchen counter, and I press the spring all the way down so I've got about 1 inch of the follower exposed. Then I slip the follower back in its slot and hold the gun parallel and slip it right in there. Now you see I don't have it in the notch yet. Alright, that's no big tragedy. Now you might think, oh, I've got it. But you see, I don't really have it here, and I'll show you one of the problems that can fool you. You see the spring is not sitting parallel with the gun. It's sitting down at an angle, and that's a sure giveaway that it's really not in that little notch that I pointed out. So I'm going to pull out my father's pocket knife, and I'm going to get under the spring and put my left-hand thumb on top so it doesn't pop all the way out. Lift it up, and what do you know, I popped it right in place, and now you see it's sitting parallel with the rest of the gun. Now I'm going to do it again to show you that it wasn't a fluke. You press it right down, you expose the follower, and slide it right in the hole there. Then slide the whole thing off into the gun, and what do you know? I hit it first time, and I'm going to do it a 3rd time to show you that the 2nd time wasn't a fluke. And there we go. Slide it off, boom, and it's right. Yeah, just a little bit of adjustment, and it's right in there, and we're ready for a reassembly. Pretty neat. Just so you can see a little more clearly what I was doing, I've done these simple drawings. The first one, of course, shows the spring being depressed on the very edge of my kitchen counter. And then I bring the slide and engage the follower, the end of the follower up there, into the slide, and bring the slide down and bring it closer and closer to the table. And at the same time, I'm taking the very bottom of the follower there and moving it toward the edge of the table, the opposite direction, and then bringing them together like this. As soon as the follower slips off the edge of the table, it springs right into the catch or very close to the catch where you can easily adjust it. And it's really that simple. I can assemble the spring in, as you saw, about 5 or 10 seconds instead of wrestling with it like some evil serpent like may have seen on assembly demonstrations in other YouTube videos. So let me recommend that. It's very, very easy, and it doesn't take a lot of hand strength to do. And I think it'll reduce your frustration in disassembly and assembly and cleaning.